What are your customers' pain points? What are their objections going to be? And so when I go through those kind of founder interviews, I often find that they haven't thought of that particular answer yet. Or, you know what, nobody's ever asked me that. I've never put that down on paper. So we find a lot of kind of holes to build the better brand narrative.
Meet Jenna Nelson, founder of Her AIgency, helping female founders turn AI overwhelm into simple systems that scale their businesses.
Not only are you going to end up with, an AI tool on the other side that knows everything about your business, but hopefully you left this process with a bit more clarity yourself as well around the business.
What's up, everybody? This is Ryan Van Ornum back with another edition of the Scaling Up Success podcast. Today, we are brought to you by our sponsor, Synergist. It's your fractional operations company, helps you grow exponentially faster at a fraction of the cost. Go check out Synergist.com. Also, while you're at it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our videos here on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. Today, I'm super excited because we have Jenna Nelson on with Her AIgency. Jenna, how the heck are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. If I could just talk straight, I'd be just even better. So you just got to take them when you get them, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, well, let's just jump into it. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on with Her AIgency.
Yeah, so I primarily support women-led businesses, female founders in kind of the AI implementation and strategy space. I really found, there's a little bit of a gender gap, particularly in the tech side of things. And as women, we often like to work with other women. And so there just really wasn't anybody kind of standing up and saying like, yeah, we're in this very new AI fueled world. Let's figure it out and let's figure out the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I talk about that a lot. There's a lot of really great things about AI. There are definitely some places we don't want it and some things we don't want to use it for. So my job is to really kind of help, particularly small operations or maybe solopreneurs really kind of use AI to scale up, to start, adding, more to their plate without actually adding more work to their plate. So without inflating payroll and, without, keeping founders up until 3 o'clock in the morning, working on things. So the goal is to help them do more with less, essentially.
And since you've started your business, how have you seen that kind of because that industry moves so quickly, right? So how are you keeping up with so many different processes that are happening behind the scenes?
It's exhausting. I'm not gonna lie to you. There are some days where I'm like, I don't know why I chose something that literally changes on me every 30 minutes because that's what it feels like. So some of it for me is like I have to kind of keep some horse blinders on, and it's like I know what we do, I know what works, and so I try to sometimes kind of tune out the noise. But on the other hand, I want to, play with those new tools. I want to see what might be better than what is out there right now. And people ask me about them. So I want to be able to, answer them. So it's a little bit of a tricky balance between trying to stay, very knowledgeable about everything that's happening in the space and also not get completely bogged down by it. Because if it were up to me, I would just sit and play with AI tools like all day long and test them against each other and all sorts of things. But that's not necessarily paying the bills. So, just kind of finding our lane and finding, the tools that I feel are the most impactful and are going to remain that way for a while is kind of, where I've landed on that. But it is a rapidly changing environment. And I tell clients all of the time, it's like, this is what I'm saying right now today. I may say something different 90 days from now because a newer, better version might be available. There might be something that we can't do today that we can do 6 months from now. But so it's a little bit of a, tricky situation there, but the goal is just to, use the best available tools that we have right now and then kind of keep our eyes on what's coming.
I love that. Very cool. So what are you most proud about in this journey that you're on? Because like you said, it changes all the time. You have like a diverse customer, back clientele. Yeah. So what's bringing you the most pride right now?
I think that we found certain systems and certain tools that work almost universally, depending on, the the type of business or the niche. I think there's some, very specific workflows, some very specific tools that are where I start almost everyone. And we've kind of put it together in a 3-part framework called Align, Automate, Appear. And so I take everybody through that alignment stage. And what I find with the alignment stage, and what, to answer your question, I'm probably the most proud of there, is that we find a lot of brand strategy holes when we do that kind of process. Because for me to train an AI tool and make it as usable as I want it to be for you, I have to know absolutely everything, right? I need to pick at all those little, what are your customers' pain points? What are their objections going to be? And so when I go through those kind of founder interviews, I often find that they haven't maybe thought of that particular answer yet, or you know what, nobody's ever asked me that. I've never put that down on paper. So we find a lot of kind of holes to build the better brand narrative, which I think is a really cool outcome of it all. Is not only are you going to end up with, an AI tool on the other side that knows everything about your business, but hopefully you left this process with a bit more clarity yourself as well around the business. So that's what I'm, kind of particularly proud of, is that, we're able to find those holes and kind of patch them up.
I love that. Has there been like an unexpected opportunity that just came up like along the way? You're like, where did this come from? And all of a sudden you're like, it takes you in like a slightly different tangent, but it's like, man, this is so cool.
Right now I'm working on a project where we are very specifically, the client's goal is for they provide a scoring metric, for that scoring metric to be quoted in line in the major LLMs, so ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, things like that. And so it's a massive undertaking. There is not a formula out there for here's how to make this happen. So I'm getting to kind of figure it out. And obviously I know a lot of how it works, but a lot of it's testing and seeing what's going to work and what's not. But it'll be really cool. We've just started that project about a month ago. We're already kind of seeing it work. But I'm interested to see on the true end of it, if we do it, if we get it done that way. That's going to be kind of the first time that anybody's really done exactly that. And like, I want my score quoted, in these LLMs. So that's been a really cool project. Didn't see that one on the horizon, but it's been really fun to kind of work on.
That's awesome. Like, what emerging trends are like coming up for 2026? What are you seeing?
So, the biggest thing is that, particularly when we're talking about content or what you're putting out there for your business, we have shifted away from like keyword-based search, or, that kind of like one word, into a search engine type of thing. Where we're moving as a society is more of a query-based answer first format. So what we're expecting to do is ask a question of whatever tool we might be using. And a lot of times that's things like voice assistants now. That's Siri, that's Alexa. Those are, new to the kind of game here for search. And then we're expecting to get an answer. We're not expecting to get 10 blue links that we have to sort through anymore. We're expecting to get that answer and then ask follow-up questions. So the number one thing I am telling all of my clients, and that I tell everybody, is start that shift and start thinking about the questions that your clients are asking or your potential clients are asking. And everything you do needs to be answering those questions. So question, answer, question, answer. FAQs are really popular right now. That's a lot of what's being picked up, in the AI snippets. So things like that are really interesting, the way that's evolving. It's just kind of the nature of search is changing. The other one I think is really interesting is communities are becoming really, really popular again, Reddit and things like that. So I'm doing a lot of digital marketing for clients via Reddit, and you'd be surprised how productive that can be. And I think that's not one that normally pops to people's, head as like, oh, I'm going to do social media marketing. But Reddit is really huge right now, particularly for surfacing those snippet answers. So I think those are two things that are really cool and kind of changing as we move into this year.
Do you feel like there's so many things that kind of go in cycles? Because like it felt like Facebook groups were like dead a couple years ago and then they
Yep.
resurfaced, or like
Yep.
LinkedIn was like no one wanted to go to talk.
Nobody wanted to be on LinkedIn. Yeah.
No one wanted to talk about LinkedIn, and then all of a sudden, like last year, LinkedIn was huge again.
Yep.
Where are you seeing with certain aspects of, that type of those type of social environments?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think it does kind of cycle through, and it's a lot about what is being surfaced at that moment. So you mentioned LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the primary drivers of AI snippets, of answers in ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity. So there's a lot of value in that platform. Whereas, it did kind of for a while become like that's just for employees. I don't really want to hang out there. It's really boring. But that's become really relevant again. Facebook groups, I feel like that one's going back down a little bit now.
Yeah,
People are kind of moving their, we had that big group disaster last year where everything got shut down for like a day. And I think that moved a lot of people off the platform to things they can own themselves, which is certainly always something I advise. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of change in those trends, and it just has to do with how we are evolving digitally, because the more we're starting to take advantage of those opportunities, the more the algorithm favors them. So that's just the way we're kind of landing.
I love that. Very cool. Hey, one of the things that we do here is we do a little rapid fire questionings for our CEOs, get to and founders and stuff like that. Are you up for a
Yeah,
little quick action
absolutely. Sure,
questions?
game on.
All right, here we go. What book are you reading right now?
Oh, the greatness mindset.
Nice, very cool. Do you have a bucket list travel spot you want to go to?
Oh my gosh, a billion. I think Australia is the one that's like, it's just such a commitment to take that flight over there. I really want to do it, but I just like, it's a long flight.
Right, exactly. Love it. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird for sure. I'm no good to anyone after like 5 p.m., frankly.
I've used up all my words.
I'm done. I'm done.
Very cool. What was the first job you ever had?
I worked at a movie theater to start, and actually like ended up managing it, and then went off to college with a good chunk of change in my pocket. So it worked out great.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
If you had a superpower, what, like the X-Men or the Avengers or something like that, what one superpower you'd want?
Oh, I think about this a lot, and I would want to be the ability to be invisible for a variety of reasons, but also like the access, all the places you could get to without being detected. I think, like I'm super interested in like what happens backstage at events and things like that. So like for me, the ability to just like sneak anywhere I want to, that's my top priority.
That's cool. That's cool. Like a Sue Storm of the Fantastic Four. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Hey, if you could have dinner with one historical figure, either living or deceased, who would you want to have that dinner with?
Oh, wow. That's a big one. I think selfishly, like right now, because of everything and what I do, I think it's like Sam Altman of OpenAI. I think that I
Yeah.
would love to just like pick his brain and talk about like what the future looks like. So I think that's not super historical, more current, but I think that would be top of my list right now.
What's one productivity hack that you have to like do during the day and you would want to share with others?
I have recently really stopped being married to my email. I tried to check my email like once and later in the morning, like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. And then again, before I pick my kids up from school in the afternoon, and not just be in it all day, because I, was getting sidetracked by, oh, well, that'll only take 5 minutes. But then I start something else, and really limiting that to like making checking email like a task on your calendar versus
Yeah.
just something you're naturally doing all of the time, I have found to be extraordinarily helpful.
Awesome. Very cool. If what's your go-to cheat meal?
Tacos.
Love it. Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
yep.
cool. Last one I got for you is like what's bumping on like your workout playlist?
Anything really upbeat. Like I'm a pretty low key chill individual, but like when I get out to run or in the gym, right? Like I want like hard hitting, like hip hop, high energy type of stuff. So it's like a total departure from my normal like day to day. But that's kind of what like keeps me in the zone.
Love it. Well, you absolutely crushed the rapid fire section. Well done. Nice job.
Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, as we start to, wind this thing down, one of the things that I always ask people is like, if you could go back, do a little time travel and go back to your younger version, maybe like when you were that movie theater, manager, what's one
Yeah.
piece of advice you give yourself?
I wish that much, much earlier in my years had I figured out that a job is not the only answer to income. It took me a long time to go the entrepreneurship route, even though my parents did it, I saw it, but for whatever reason, like just did not compute for me. And I think once you pull yourself out of that mindset and you realize like the goal is just to support yourself or your lifestyle, whatever it might be, and that there's a million different ways to do that, it opens up so many opportunities. And it's a real mind shift switch. And I wish I had gotten to that far before I did.
Fantastic. What type of impact do you feel you want to leave on the industry as you continue to build out her agency?
Yeah. So right now, honestly, it's just helping people get over that kind of fear of AI and the concerns around it. I acknowledge those. Some of those are real, but there are also are a lot of fears that might be slightly irrational or not what's really going to happen here. And so, I do a lot of educating about here's what's really happening. This is math behind the scenes. It's not a robot taking over, and so I hope to, kind of be the person that leads a lot of people away from that fear and into kind of, a more productive workflow.
That's awesome. Hey, where do you see yourself in like 5 years down the road?
I hope about here. I love this. I hope that I'm continuing to, experiment with AI tools and things like that and build things. I love to build these tools and hand them off. So there's no escape plan for me right now. I'm pretty happy here where I'm at, but maybe a little more time on the beach.
Love it. Very cool. Well, if people are interested in your services, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, certainly. My website is Her AIgency, and then I'm on YouTube as well. I do a lot of just like short trainings, kind of stuff you can implement today, not like here's a 2-hour AI deep dive. So that's a good place to kind of get familiar with maybe some of the stuff that you don't know yet. So that YouTube is another really good one too.
Fantastic. Jenna Nelson, it's been amazing having you on the Scaling Up Success podcast today. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Ryan Van Ornum signing off for the Scaling Up Success podcast. Until the next time, thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to all of our videos. Until the next time, stay blessed, everyone. Take care.